Hey everyone, this is Barry 3D from the iConis podcast, and today we're getting into the ultimate car chase man himself, Mad Max. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. Every click helps us going on. Now, I had to talk about this. A friend of mine brought this up, so this is a shout out to them, to Charlie and Jess, for bringing this subject to my mind. And I had to say Mad Max. I had to talk about this topic because I thought Mad Max is a cool character. I know usually we do these shows, an hour-long shows, roughly, fan casting and all that, but this is a property that already exists. So where do I want to see Mad Max going next? Let's see where he's came from. So first of all, Mad Max got released in 1979. The lead role was played by Mel Gibson, and that was pretty much our breakout debut of seeing Mel Gibson on the big screen for a lot of us here worldwide. Mad Max, written by George Miller, put together, he directed it. It was a great concept, future society on the downslope. So and that Mad Max movie was really the origin story, where he was a police officer. There was world tensions that were happening, resources were getting scarce. The world was kind of hell in a handbasket, and that's what was all going away. But at the time, the main character, Max, was still trying to keep the peace with his interceptor as a highway patrolman in Australia. After witnessing a couple of incidents that kind of took him to the edge, his chiefs turned around and said, hey, you know what, your best friend got into a bad accident, you need some time off, why don't you go and take your family away and just kind of calm down, reconnect, and you'll come back. Now, Max, as a character, picture this way, he's like the Marvel Universe version of the Punisher. If the Punisher existed and in Australia, this would be it. Instead of a van with microchip, you would have a dog and you would have a car. Both the Punisher and Mad Max were police officers. Go figure. They like to dress in black leather, and they go with extreme prejudice when it comes to dealing with the criminal element that they have to come by. So here's that should have been a crossover a long time ago. How come the Punisher never crossed over with Mad Max? Marvel does all these things where characters cross over with live action properties and our IPs. It could have happened. So we get back to Mad Max, and Mad Max, played by Mel Gibson, did 3 movies. So you had Mad Max, The Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome. We don't need another hero. Yeah, we do. So, I know I can't sing. And this character came out, so the first movie was 1979. And if you look at it, 1979, that was great because we had Mad Max, and it gave us one of the iconic car chase scenes that we've seen from a long time. Followed really quickly in 1980 by the Blues Brothers, which had that whole car chase that happened, first through the mall, and then at the very end scene with the most amount of cars in there. And then, of course, car chase movies, we all think Fast and Furious. But before all that, it was Mad Max. He doesn't say much, says a couple of words. He gets behind the wheel and just causes mayhem. Very Vin Diesel kind of thing, right? Doesn't say too much, but getting behind the wheel of a car, it's all about family. And that's what it was with Max. It was about family. He lost his wife. He lost his daughter. His son. And this puts him down a road of he doesn't like people. He's going out for extreme justice. So he gets revenge, very, extreme, on the biker gang that took away his loved ones. And then he doesn't want to bother with anyone. He's almost like kind of leave me alone. And a lot of times we see Max, he's just kind of doing his own thing. He's got man's best friend beside him, just like Superman and Krypto. And he tries to just live out his days. And then he gets roped in because he'll see a situation come up and he might need a piece for his car or gas or something to help him out in this apocalyptic future. And when he starts with that, he'll run into somebody and that person might need help. And they want to use Max as a political person, as a gopher to do a job. And Max usually walks away. He'll say, no, you brought it on yourself. I know he has a high code, and he looks at most people that are all criminals, and he walks away saying, hey, you got to deal with it. But that innate nature in him brings him back to be the hero. He'll show up and say, fine, I'll help you out. So he goes from self-serving in a movie to getting back to his roots as a police officer. It's never too far that he wanted to help people, but he does it in his own way. So he gets in there and he goes about it. Now, we've seen the character played by Tom Harding, and we've seen other tales. So Max, across Australia, as the world deteriorates more and more and it's harder for resources, his legend spreads all over Australia. And I say Australia because that's where everything is focused. And it spreads there of this man in leather who does these things, but it's never him talking about it. It's the ones who survived, that seen him in action, that he's helped, who spread the legend of Max. So they make him bigger than life. And when people see him, it's like, oh, he's not as big as I thought. But he's dangerous because he gets the job done. He's determined. He's going through heartache. He's going through loss. Imagine depression. And you've seen the world change for the worse in front of you. But he sometimes finds these glimmers of hope. And that's what he's trying to keep alive. Now, there's also a video game of Mad Max that, came out in 2015. That was a lot of fun by Warner Brothers Entertainment. And they got the essence of it. They got the car combat in there. They got the look of it. And it feels very much. So if you're a fan of Batman, the Arkham series that came out, you should go and give this a try. It's very similar with the combat, how it looks with the graphics. The storyline stays very true to it. And once again, George Miller was a part of helping with that video game come to life. So I want to see more Mad Max. Done well, but more, right? Mad Max, the story spreads, as legend spreads. It's almost like the gunslinger. You hear about him, people talk about him, and they see him, and it's like, nah. And then by the time he's done, it's like, okay, that was Max. So what happened to the rest of the world? Because all this takes place in Australia. What happened to the UK? What happened to North America? We are going through those things also. Has Max's legend spread? Do the people that Max helped, do some of them try to take on, maybe were influenced by him and want to carry on with this tale? So it's almost like Fist of the North Star, and you have Bat and Ren. And they kind of, when they grow up, take on the whole thing of Kenshiro and follow his legend and do what he was doing and trying to keep hope alive. So who does Max inspire, and how does that legend spread across the world? Does Max himself ever leave Australia? I would love to see Mad Max in the UK. I would like to see Mad Max hit North American shores at that time and see what's going on outside of Australia. Australia has gone from being lush and green at points to a full-out desert. What happened to Saudi Arabia and so forth? So we know there's tensions, political tensions that made all that, but this is where I think Mad Max needs to come back. And it would be interesting to see, one, another video game, another movie, and let's build on the world of Mad Max. A comic book. I think a couple of miniseries comic books to fill in some of the blanks of Mad Max, the people he's intertwined with, who have survived over the years, or relatives of people that he saved or know of him, right? Like his wife's family. What happened to them? Does he have brothers and sisters? They always make it seem like it's a solitary figure. So we don't know, but I think people want to know. Or maybe is that the mystique of him being this enigma and we don't know much more about him than what we see presented? I, myself, I'm always about world building. I want to see more about Mad Max. Let's go and see what the world can build. So first, I would like to see a couple of other video games. Bring back in some of those classic heroes, or villains, I should say. Maybe some familiar allies at times. And I would like to see Mad Max outside of Australia to see how that goes about. And if Marvel ever turns around and does a time-traveling Punisher Mad Max story, I'm all for that too. And before you all start laughing at me, go and read your comic books. There's been a lot of time traveling with heroes overall. And if you're watching What If right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, this is Barry from Barry 3D from the iConis podcast. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. Remember, this whole world was created by a pencil, piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. And your foot on the pedal. Out.